great to be here. I love Jump. My third time here. I'm getting a bit addicted. I think I might need a badge or something. Maybe. So really good to be here. And I'm going to talk to you about being empowered in your career, but particularly in the digital age, because today we're talking about the digital age. We're talking about technology. We're talking about how that impacts our work and what difference that makes for us. So I've got that particular lens on today. So I want to ask you a question. You've had a really busy day at work. It's been a hard day. Whatever you've done, you've had a lot of calls, maybe you've done a lot of traveling, you've been trying to get to the bottom of your to-do list, you've had a lot of emails, you're exhausted, you're shattered. You walk, you've been told to go to your boss's office, which is on the 20th floor. You're on the 15th. Do you walk? Do you go up the stairs or the ladder, or do you get the elevator? Actually, you've been sitting for a while, so I want to know who, if you would get the elevator, stand up. Okay, so I think that's, we've got about 80% of the room. Okay, and I just want to see if you would get the stairs, stand up. If you would take the stairs up those 5 floors. Okay, interesting. Okay, so if you sit down, just remember who you are, because I'm going to talk to you a bit more about that, about which way you go. To be honest, I think the best way is the elevator. It's the quickest way. You're exhausted. You're going to actually conserve your energy. And to be honest, you know, what we often do as women is we want to take one tiny step at a time up that ladder. But actually, technology might be the way for you to take the elevator and go straight up quite a few rungs of that ladder at a time. A few years ago now, about 4 years ago, I did some research with Nivea, the skincare brand. Who's familiar with them? Yeah? Okay, and we interviewed 2,700 women about their attitudes to celebrity, to career, to education, to all sorts of things. And it was really interesting. We called it the Bring It On study. The women we interviewed were all under 30. And here are the few of the headlines when it comes to technology. 87% of those women under 30 use social media to get their ideas out there. Who in this room is using social media? Okay. Quite a lot of you, but not all of you. 3 out of 4 of them believe technology could speed up their career success. I'm going to talk a bit more about that, about what that might look like. And 85% agreed the internet was creating a new generation of digital role models. This group of women were really confident. They were really confident about their future and what they could be doing. And I called them happenistas, women who make things happen in their own unique way. More than half of them believed that women are more confident than ever before. And that was really heartening, because it's something we hear a lot, that women aren't so confident, that we need to work on our confidence. And actually, as a coach, it's something that people come to me all the time with. I wish I was more confident. I wish I was able to take those opportunities that are being offered to me. Or I wish I was able to brag a bit more like some of those guys in the office. What is it that's holding me back? Can you help? So I've done some research very recently myself. And I've looked at confidence. It's a smaller piece of research than the one I did with Nivea, but just as interesting. Actually, everyone says that men are so much more confident than women. But actually, when I looked at who was most bothered about their confidence, actually 44% of men were bothered about their confidence versus 56% of women. It's not a huge difference. Why is that? Maybe men are now talking about how confident or not they are and being more honest about it. Or maybe there is an increase in the level of confidence in women. I'm not completely sure of the answer. But you know, this idea that we spoke about, actually Femi mentioned imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome, for me, when I think about it, is comparing how I feel inside with how other people look on the outside. It's a false comparison. I have no idea on how other people feel inside. Everyone looks damn confident, don't they? Haven't you noticed that? You go to a networking event, you walk in, you might be thinking, I don't know anyone here, oh my gosh, I've got to talk to strangers, and everyone else looks like they know everyone and they're super confident. But inside, they all feel exactly the same. So if I compare how I feel to how everyone looks, it's a totally false comparison. So we have to be really careful about that. So maybe we are more confident, maybe we're more aware of how confident people are and are not, and maybe men are more open about their level of confidence too. There's an age curve to confidence, and I think this is useful. Everyone tells me that millennials are super confident people. They don't worry about the same things we do. But my research found that sort of under 24, people were still lacking confidence. And a lot of that was about experience. You haven't done things yet. You don't know if you can do them. And as a result, you don't feel so confident about them. But if you're in that sweet spot between 25 and 55, you're probably a lot more confident than you used to be. Or you don't care about your confidence so much. Or you don't feel confident, but maybe you don't let it hold you back as much as maybe you once would. And then in the later years, after 55, sometimes the confidence takes a dip again. And when I looked at the research, sometimes that was about loss. Maybe you've lost a long-term partner. Sometimes that was about ill health. Losing your health can really damage your confidence. And sometimes that might have been about loss of identity. You might have retired, and your identity might have been really wrapped up in your job. And so it's, who am I now? And so you can lose a bit of your confidence. So this age curve is quite important to think about. As I've said, this imposter syndrome is rife. And when you look at the research around it, this idea of actually feeling like you're a bit of a fraud, feeling like someone's going to tap you on the shoulder and tell you you're not really meant to be here. Jump meant to recruit the other Jenny Garrett, it wasn't you. All of that sort of thing. It's everywhere. And at 52% of the people did let their level of confidence hold them back. I think it's okay not to feel confident. I think it's okay to feel nervous, but when it holds you back from taking opportunities, that's when it actually becomes a bit of a problem and something that you need to think, you need to do something about. Your boss really matters. How many bosses do we have in the room? A few. You've got a huge weight of responsibility, because when people talked about what negatively impacted their confidence, it was often boss, then colleagues, then early life experience. Yeah? Your boss can ruin your life. Absolutely. In my 20s, I worked for a very small organization, a family-run organization. It was so cliquey, it was so awful. I remember going to the office of my boss, and him just being quite disgusting in every way. And I went out at lunchtime, and I never came back. And I remember them ringing me the next day and saying, Jenny, what's wrong with you? Why have you gone? Why did you go home? And where are you today? And me saying, I'm not coming back here, because this place is wrecking my confidence, and I'll never be able to work anywhere else if I stay here any longer. So be very careful. As a boss, think carefully about how you are making your colleagues and your staff members feel. And you take responsibility for not letting your organization completely deplete your confidence. Do something about it. Sometimes the most confident thing is to walk away. Other times it's to challenge, to do the thing that you can do to preserve your confidence. And lastly, they said you've got to try something new. I think that Monique said, step out of your comfort zone. I think that was her final slide. Trying something new is the ultimate way to boost your confidence, to do something different. And this is really important, but I'm imagining that a lot of you in this room already knew that. I want you all to stand up for a minute. Okay. So I want you to sit down if you always do the correct amount of exercise, which is, for a woman, 20 minutes times 3 times a week. So if you, stay standing if you always do that amount of exercise every week. If you don't, sit down. Okay, great. Of those of you who are still standing, stay standing if you always have the recommended amount of fruit and vegetables a day, and that's 5 fruit and vegetables. Okay? So sit down if you don't. Lovely. Of those of you still standing, please stay standing if you have 8 hours of sleep every night. Gosh, what a sleep-deprived bunch we have. Okay. Of those of you still standing, if you drive, keep standing if you never got a parking ticket, never parked in the wrong place, never done anything wrong when it comes to driving. Okay, right. Well, I think we should give the 2 standing up a round of applause. Please take a seat. The reason I asked you those questions is because we know the right things to do, don't we? We know how much exercise we should have. We know what we should eat. We know what we need to sleep to refresh our body, but we don't always do it. And we need to move things from actually common sense to common practice. And that can be uncomfortable. Cross your arms the way you normally do. Okay. How does that feel? I don't want you to say to me it's a defensive stance. I know it can be, but how does it feel just generally? Comfortable? Okay? Natural? Yeah? Now I want you to cross your arms the opposite way. Okay. Okay, how does that feel? Unnatural? Strange? Awkward? Yeah? Did some of you automatically go back to the normal way very quickly? Yeah? It's like, yeah? Yeah? You had to think about it, didn't you? But if I said to you, okay, I want you to cross your arms the opposite way for the next 30 days, we're going to come back here, meet at jump, and do it, what do you think you'll be saying about crossing it the opposite way? Fine. Easy. Yeah, I don't even have to think about it anymore. This idea of stepping out of your comfort zone means that you're going to experience discomfort. The challenge is that we want to step outside our comfort zone and for it to be easy, and for it to be comfortable, and for it to be as we normally cross our arms. But we have to be prepared that we're going to have to do this uncomfortable thing until it becomes comfortable for us. So I want you to hold that in mind. You've been through all these sessions today at Jump. And I know you've got a list a mile long of all the things that you want to do. And what I don't want you to do is try one the first time and go, oh, that's not me. Let me just go back to the way I've always done things, because that's comfortable and that's easy. Because you can do that, but nothing will change. Yeah? Your confidence won't improve, your career won't change, nothing will be better unless you do something about it. So you have to be willing to be uncomfortable. And I want you to remember that. When you experience that discomfort, embrace it. And just say, yeah, this is part of my learning journey. Oops, wrong button. Okay. So when we're thinking particularly about our career in the digital age, often the first thing people say to you is, you need to learn to code. That's what you need to do. And for some people, that's exciting. And for other people, that's really like, oh, do I have to? And that's not something I want to do. And I probably can't do that. And it immediately puts you off. So instead, I want to take a different angle on thinking about our careers and technology and embracing it. The first thing I want you to think about is, how motivated am I? How motivated am I to do something? How motivated am I to learn something new? Actually, what motivates me? Yeah? You know, on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is, you know what, I really couldn't care less, and 10 is, yeah, I'm super hyped to do this thing, where are you? And I'm going to tell you, if you're a 7 or less, you're not motivated. Yeah? You need to think about, if you've said 7 or less in your head, you need to be thinking, what will make me an 8? What do I need? Do I need to make it a smaller thing? Do I need to think about it differently? Do I need to leave it for now? Because I'm not really going to do anything. You know, a 7 is not worth getting out of bed for. So you need to be 8, 9, or 10. You need to think about, am I motivated? Doesn't mean, am I motivated to start coding? Am I motivated to do something? To embrace technology in some way? To embrace this digital age in some way? To get interested in AI or blockchain or actually just how the systems in my organization work or what's happening in my sector? So how do you actually, firstly work out how motivated you are? That's number one, and then think about what you're motivated about. The second thing you need to think about is, what do I know? I think sometimes we think everything I know is useless, and actually I need to know new stuff. Yeah, that's true. We need to be learning and evolving and developing all the time, but there's so much that we need to conserve. I think about it like this. Do you know the difference between us and apes? Who knows the DNA percentage difference? Anyone shout out? It's actually 2%. Yeah? So 98% of our DNA is the same, and 2% is different. And that's made us the supposedly evolved beings that we are. Most of the time, 98% of what you know and what you do is perfect. What's the 2% you could tweak? What's the 2% you might want to play with? You start from a much more resourceful place when you think, yeah, I do know a lot. Actually, maybe I did a little bit of web design, or I've been able to adapt that. Or, yeah, I do know quite a bit, actually. I went to this lecture on AI the other day. Or I've been reading about this, and it's really interesting. Or I've spoken to the IT team, and we've developed some new reports. There will be stuff that you already know. Start from there. List it, work on it, think about what you can build on. Don't start from a place of deficit. So know what you know. And actually, just an interesting thing in terms of research, what people found is that women often, even when they're the expert in the room on a topic, let other people speak about it. So you do need to know what you know anyway, so that when the topic comes up, you speak on it. You know what you know what you're the expert in. So know what you know. And lastly, what are you curious about? Yeah? Curiosity is exciting. As a coach, that's what we do a lot. We ask questions because we're curious and we want to understand people, we want to know their motivations. We don't make assumptions. So what are you curious about? What are you inquisitive about? Even if it's not directly related to your role, even if it's not directly related to your life, even if it's something that people like you don't normally get involved in. What piques your curiosity? Because that's something to go with. Yeah? Go where your energy is. Go where you're curious. Go with what you're motivated about. You know, everyone talks about their career in a very linear way. I did A, B, and C, and it got me here. That's easy in hindsight, but most of the time in real life, people's careers take lots of turns. Sometimes they go up, sometimes they go down, and particularly women's careers are less like a ladder and more like a tree with lots of branches outwards. So if you were thinking about yourself more like that and not trying to go straight up, what would you be doing? All of those branches will be really helpful to bring into your career and take you where you want to be going. So I want to share with you a couple of examples of women that I've been able to support and help. And the first is a woman called Chaya Sayal. Now, she's a journalist. She studied journalism. She described herself as a very creative person. She's not been involved in tech or interested in tech in any shape or form. She joined the BBC. And is anyone here in journalism? Okay, one person. You'll know it's pretty tough right now. Actually, so many people blog and produce free material that is increasingly competitive. And some people would in some ways say some of the trade is kind of dying because of it. So she got an opportunity to attend a 12-week coding boot camp, which was about creating bots. And I don't know if you know what bots are. They're like, you know, people, really. They're not people, but they imitate you having a conversation. You'll say hi to it, it will say hi back, it might say, how are you? You can use bots, some people are using bots to answer their calls and take messages, and you think it's a real person, but it's not.
Some people who are doing surveys, they can have the bot, "Hi, how are you? I'd like to ask you some questions. Please type 1 if you want to answer answer yes," for example. And so she got involved in this bot. And she really leveraged who she was. So being an Asian woman, a British Punjabi Sikh woman, she was able to create an Asian bot called Baljinder. And she used this bot to engage in a really different kind of audience. She wanted to, it was about, I think it was about alcohol abuse in that community, which was something that isn't normally talked about. And she was able to create this bot as a result of taking the opportunity to go on this course, and in a way has made herself quite indispensable. So she's still a journalist, but she's been able to incorporate technology into it by taking an opportunity that came her way. Now, she could have listened to the voices in her head which said, "I'm a creative person, not a tech person. Actually, coding is something that I don't think I can do." Those were all the things that were going through her head. Or what if I fail at it? What will happen to me? But instead, she just went for it. And she's using tech within her career to great success. She's also leveraging her diversity and leveraging her difference as well, which I think is really important. Because too often we think we have to fit in instead of standing out. She's using what she has to really make a difference. So that's one example. If someone comes up to you and offers you an opportunity, just say yes and work out how you're going to do it afterwards. If it's anything to do with technology, the digital age, anything like that, why not find out if it's something that could be for you? If it's not, you'll know. You'll learn something. If it is, it could be something to add to your CV and a string to your bow. Another example is a client of mine who's now a global head of IT in an investment company. Now, she started off doing a business information degree. So she was interested in business information, but not really techie. She ended up working with an IT team. Thank you. I've got a couple of minutes. She ended up working with an IT team, but as a project manager and bringing things together. And then she got really interested in diversity and inclusion. So she had a choice. Do I go for diversity and inclusion? Do I stick with IT, even though I'm not a technical specialist? In the end, she chose to stick with IT because that's where her motivation, her interest, and her curiosity was. And she got the opportunity to act up to be the head of IT. She had a lot of imposter syndrome about that. Can I do it? I don't have the technical expertise. Do I have to learn everything that they already know? But actually, she held her nerve, and she became the head of IT and is now the global head of IT. Yeah? She's not a coder. She's not a technical expert, but she's a fantastic people person. She's very strategic, and she understands how to bring people and projects together. So this idea of succeeding in the digital age doesn't mean you only have to have tech skills. So I've got just a very quick slide. Should I learn to code? If you want to, you don't have to. It's an ambitious goal. It might not be the first goal you go for. Should I keep learning? Yes. You need to keep learning and developing yourself, whatever that means for you. Should I build something? If you're curious about it and excited about it, yes. Should I become an expert? There are many ways to become an expert. You could journal and blog about your journey if your interest in a particular interest in the digital age. So something that you're curious about, you could blog about. And you could just become an expert in that way without actually having to become an IT expert. Should I join an online community? Yes, you can do, but you don't have to. If you love face-to-face, there are lots of communities you can do face-to-face. So the options are yours. It's all out there for you. Go where your energy is, go with what you enjoy, and have a beginner mind. In the mind of the expert, there are few possibilities. In the mind of the beginner, there are many. Good luck. Thank you.